Hi there, and welcome to a new devlog for New Eden, a 2D Souls-like MMORPG being developed by Wanderwolf Studios. If this is your first time finding us, and the idea of a Souls-like MMO piques your interest at all, you can actually play the game with your friends right now by heading to our website or our Discord server, both of which have been linked in the description below. New Eden is, and will remain, free, so give it a shot and let us know what you think. Well, if you didn't immediately go download and play the game, I'll assume you're still watching. Hi, my name is Jaden. I'm a professional game developer and I head the development for New Eden. In this devlog, we have a ton of changes and polish to show off, so strap in. First and foremost with this patch, we have the Poise overhaul. Previously, in New Eden, we had a strange mismatch of Poise mechanics, all trying to work cohesively together, and it just wasn't working. So, with some new animations from Fox, we've overhauled the entire system. Now, every single attack and spell you use has a momentum value assigned to it. These values aren't shown to players, but you can just assume that if something looks like a big heavy attack, it's going to have a high momentum value. Every entity in the game also has a poise value, which can be buffed by spells or the armor you're wearing. If the incoming momentum value is higher than the victim's poise value, that victim is then staggered. Depending on how much higher the momentum was than the poise, the victim might even be sent sprawling, lying prone on the floor and vulnerable to more attacks. That's the basis of the system, but there's a ton of complexity hidden within it to avoid things like a party of 4 guys cheesing a boss with big heavy axes. For every time an entity is staggered, it gains some bonus poise. This bonus poise decays over time, but generally it makes sure that you can't stagger lock something for too long. There's a few other hidden little details in the system, but nothing of such note that is worth getting into right now. But that's the Poise overhaul in a nutshell. Combat should now feel far more reactive and enjoyable, if you're not getting bowled over by the Hydrock. This brings me to the next system overhaul, Aggro. Aggro before patch 0.4 was quite messy to say the least. Enemies tended to target the closest player, or the player who hit them last. I can now happily say that we've overhauled the entire aggro system. Enemy aggro is now based on a threat system. Every action in the game is assigned a threat value, with things like taunt spells increasing threat drastically, while things like basic attacks increase it only marginally. Threat can of course also be buffed with spells and armors. Enemies now target the entities with the highest threat level. Threat level also decays over time, meaning if you want to be an effective tank in New Eden, you'll have to keep using your taunts and getting in the enemy's face. Speaking of bosses, we've redone their boss health bar. It also now shows the target's name under the boss's health bar to help players better understand who it's targeting and when its aggro changes. To assist further with that, there are these new aggro indicators that pop up and point towards the enemy that has newly changed aggro to your player. These are optional, so you can turn them off if you find them too distracting. Next, we have a new weapon class entering the fray. Katanas are slender blades that use a good deal of stamina for their attacks. Katanas have high average damage, but slightly lower poise damage than, say, a standard one-handed sword. The base katana moveset features some very wide, sweeping forms with lots of forward movement, meaning the ideal user will position themselves accordingly. We look forward to seeing what players can do with this new weapon class. Speaking of our players, something they've been wanting for a long time now is party size based scaling for dungeons and instances. It was a bit tough to face down the Hydrock as a solo while it's scaled for 4 players. I'm pleased to announce that with patch 0.4, we've introduced party scaling. You can now have an honest shot at these bosses while playing solo. The system scales per party member on a dev-controlled basis, so if you want to just run a dungeon with your duo partner, that dungeon will now scale for 2 players. I think the last thing I'll cover in this video is our new EU server location. Previously, we had the EU server based in the UK, but at the request of a broader range of EU players, we've now moved it to Germany for a more central EU-based coverage. We hope our European players enjoy the new server placement. This will have to do it for this devlog. There was a truckload of stuff pushed into this update, so be sure to check the full changelog from the game's launcher or on our Discord. There's a ton of stuff in there that we didn't cover in today's video. As we usually try to pay forward the goodwill granted us by our community, to cap off today's video, I'd like to shout out another upcoming indie MMO project, Heartwood Online. I've been interfacing with one of the pixel artists on this project, and I've gotta say the game looks absolutely stellar so far. I've linked the game's Steam page in this video's description, so be sure to drop it a wishlist and keep it in mind while we're in between updates for New Eden. Thank you all so much for watching. We sincerely hope you enjoy patch 0.4, and we can't wait to show you what else we have in store in the near future. For now, this is Jaden with Wanderwolf Studios, signing off.